You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' peeps? Welcome back to the channel, Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be going over the results of the late night number 23 event. We just had this event on Monday. We had lots of great players show up, and of course the metagame's always changing, so I'm trying to bring it to you. So these are going to be the top 16 best decks from that event. The event had over 300 players, close to 350 if I'm not mistaken, so it should be absolutely awesome. If you want to learn more about events, let me know in the comments below. Get you signed up for some Pokemon events, or if you have any questions, I can definitely answer them. Give this video a thumbs up. It helps boost the YouTube algorithm, making sure that more people can view this video, and subscribe to the channel so more people can enjoy Pokemon, and hopefully we can get closer to 10,000 subs. That being said, let's look at these players who played in this event and see exactly what's going on there. So here we have it, late night 23, 250 bucks and 300 evolving skies. We had so many players play in this event. I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom because there's so many players that played in this event. We had 348, so about 350 players who were playing this on a Monday night. That's kind of wild. We're getting into those regional numbers, and I appreciate all the support from everyone. Now, obviously, I can't go over over 348 decks, and I will put the link to this event in the description. So if you want to check out the standings and maybe see all the decks or the decks that are interesting or anything, whatever you decide to do for it, by all means, check that out. That being said, I do want to let everyone know that it is one of those things where, how do I put it? It's one of those things where you could kind of discover what you want to do with these decks. We will be discovering over the top 16 decks for this event. So since we're starting off somewhere, we're going to be starting off with Gabe Shumway, one of the homies, playing Rapid Strike Urshifu with Inteleon VMAX. So I don't know whether to call this Inteleon VMAX or Rapid Strike. Limitless calls it Rapid Strike, but it's kind of maybe more of an Inteleon VMAX deck more. The goal of this deck is to use the Shady Dealings line that we see in a bunch of decks, with Drizzile, Inteleon, stuff like that. Search out your trainer cards, do some extra damage with Inteleon, search out things with the other Inteleon. Inteleon VMAX allows you to do 140 damage. You lift the Rapid Strike energy back every single turn. You can search it out with Octillery. The Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX allows you to have a much better Jolteon matchup because you are weak to Lightning. So it is something that you'd struggle for. Once you lift the energy back, you heal with Cheryl every single turn. That's your rinse and repeat. Not sure how I feel about this list overall. It seems a little bit all over the place. We saw Gato win the most recent late night event before the regionals with a very similar deck, if not the exact same. So I think that something like this is very interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about decks like this. They're cool. Cool decks don't always translate into the best decks, but we did have Gabe, who was able to make all the way to the top 16. So it has to be something, right? So great drop to them, shout out to them. Super excited to see it. We're going to be moving on. I don't know how many other decks we're going to see like that, but we'll see. Jolteon VMAX coming off the regional championship win of Jonathan Patricio. We have Pokemuka. Again, sorry if I mispronounce any deck or any names with the Jolteon VMAX deck. So Jolteon VMAX is all about using Max Thunder Rumble, 100 and 100 to the bench as long as they have damage counters on their bench Pokemon. You can get those with Quick Shooting, Headbutt Tantrum on Zigzagoon, Scoop-O-Net, stuff like that. This list looks a lot more standardized. I find there's the double bosses orders, the double Cheryl. Like, I think this looks relatively normal. I'm not sure a lot of lists aren't playing a Cheryl right now, or aren't playing two Cheryls, I should say. So I mean, I really have no issues with this list. This list looks really on point, really on meta trend. I really like how this Jolteon VMAX deck looks. So if you're looking for a Jolteon VMAX deck, this one seems like it's hot. Maybe give it a try. Pokemuka was able to make top 16 with it. We have Ale Liverpool 69, or is it Alice Liverpool 69? I can never tell with the pronunciation of these things. For myself, living in the Toronto area but being French Canadian, you always try to pronounce things differently. Mew VMAX is all about using Cross Fusion Strike, copying either Melodious Echo for a lot of damage or Technoblast. Of course, there's a lot of other attacks that you could copy, but those are the big ones. Using Fusion Strike system with Genesect as the draw engine, accelerating energies with Alice's Sparkles, and kind of doing whatever else you want with the deck. I mean, I'd go into more strategy with this deck. I've covered Mew VMAX a lot. If you have any questions about Mew VMAX, or if you want to know how to play this deck, I can totally send a reference in the comments, a reference video that would kind of go over the deck a little bit more in depth. Mew VMAX has kind of been done to death, and I don't necessarily want to go over it 1,000 bajillion times. That being said, let me know in the comments about any of these decks. If you are a player who played in this event and you want to defend your deck, if you're like, you want to know what, I hated this about my deck, I love this about my deck, Zach, you're crazy, this crazy tech is awesome, let me know in the comments below, and I'd totally love to hear some of your expert feedback. Because like I say, I'm always only one person, and I'm only allowed to play so many different decks, or I can only play so many different decks. So I'd love to hear some feedback from all of y'all, and even if you didn't play in the events, let me know in the comments below what you feel about these decks. Did you love one of the decks in particular? Maybe you're like, yo, Inteleon's my boy, how did Gabe Shumway make it all the way to the top 16? That's sick, let's get it. That's awesome. All that stuff also really helps boost the algorithm of this video. So by giving this video a like, thumbs up, and commenting, it really helps grow the discoverability in YouTube. So if you want to help me out, that's the freest way. If you want to help me out otherwise, you could use code Lesage5 at PTCGOstore.com. Plug in code Lesage5 and save 5% on your next order of codes. That also really helps, and a lot of those proceeds do go towards making sure that I could do more and more YouTube videos. I think that this list looks great. I like the spicy tech of the Echoing Horn. There's really nothing that I would change too much. Like, a lot of the things that I'll say when it comes to a Mew VMAX deck, it's personal preference. And I think this very much is a personal preference list. Echoing Horn's a card that I think we might see in the future a little bit more in Mew lists, as they might have more space with double turbo energy. However, just bringing back the same Pokemon to knock out again, like a Crobat on your opponent's bench, could be absolutely hot. I think Mew VMAX is aggressive, the best deck in format, and this looks like a solid enough list to try out, for sure. That's a hot tech. Duraludon VMAX. Duraludon was kind of all over this week, and after this event, Duraludon seemed to do better and better. So Duraludon VMAX is all about Skyscraper. You're blocking your opponent's Pokemon with special energies from doing much. You could always Crushing Hammer away their energies in general, so that they can't really do much, and Flannery helps out with Path to the Peak. That can go through Skyscraper, all that good stuff. This deck is a tanky mid-range control element deck, attacking control, I'd say, because you could heal, you can draw cards with Zacian, but mainly heal and disruption cards are huge. I think this list is cool. However, I know further up in the list, my teammate Cal Connor had a really interesting list that was more in line with Noah's list from the regionals. So Noah played a list that had 4 Team Yell Towels. So my teammate Cal played it and is up the list a little bit more with a list that I like a little bit more than this. That's not to say that this list is bad by any means. I think that it's more on trend to be playing more Yell Towel for what it's worth, and playing things like Sonya. So those are really cool additions to that deck. So just throwing it out there, I don't think there's anything wrong with this Duraludon list. I think it's pretty standard. However, there are versions that are pushing the boundaries with 4 Team Yell Towels above. So we'll go into those a little bit more. But shout out to Aaron for making top 16. We have Patricia Gonzalez Walsh playing Rapid Strike Urshifu Melanie. I think Rapid Strike Urshifu Melanie is certainly a cool deck. You're able to go G-Max Rapid Flow with a Telescopic Sight and a Passimian to do 180 and 180, using Quick Shooting to get some damage on there, Octillery to search out your energies, and Metacham to maybe put your opponent in some checkmate scenarios. Patricia always does well at these events, so it's super awesome that they're able to continuously see success, and hopefully they can continue to see success at more events. Rapid Strike, I think they lost to Mew VMAX in the top 16 if I'm not mistaken, so it's one of those things where this deck, I find, struggles with Mew. I'm sure Patricia can let you know exactly how they feel about it, but I'm not entirely sure how I feel otherwise about Rapid Strike. Like, it's always really good. It's a solid meta call. I just think there's a lot of decks that counter this deck in particular. However, when it comes to the list looks absolutely excellent. Really cool list overall, and I think that it's that this would be a list if I were to be playing this deck. This is the type of deck that I would be playing. So we're gonna move on. What else do we have here? We have Vaughn. Vaughn's another one of my teammates, played the exact same list as Calvin. So Didn't realize that we'd be seeing Vaughn before Calvin, but I guess that makes sense. This to me is a very ideal list when it comes down to it. I really like the Duraludon VMAX deck. Adding the Sonya allows you to get extra opportunities to get out your basic Pokemon so you don't get benched out. You can search for those basic energies, and you also have options to heal with Pokemon Center Lady, Team Yell Towel, so you can cut down a little bit on the energy line. I think this is solid overall. I think it's the same list as Cal. I might be off by a card or two. I'm not entirely sure. We'll get there when we get there, but this is more in line with the decks that I think are seeing more success with Duraludon, because Duraludon kind of exploded on the rest of the online events after this event. We're going to be moving on up to Echo Shooter playing the Mew VMAX deck. So we're looking at this list. A lot of players are including one copy of Marnie in their deck. The reason why we're seeing one copy of Marnie is to really get around Path to the Peak decks, or it could be good against Galarian Weezing decks. So against Path to the Peak decks, it does give you an out to potentially draw into a stadium to get around Path to the Peak, which allows you to draw more cards. Boss's Orders and Elisas are both non-draw supporters, so they don't really let you get there. So Marnie's a cool way in Path to the Peak matchups to do something, or maybe just refresh your hands. Could be cool. It's also good against those Galarian Moltres, Hoopa, Galarian Weezing, Sableye V decks. Probably just going to call them Sableye V decks from now on. It's probably way easier. They build up a gigantic hand. You have no way to really affect their hand. So right before they're about to drop that Galarian Moltres and knock out your Mew VMAX, if you play it correctly, you could Marnie them at the right time, and maybe they don't really have a way to get around that. So I think it's a cool list. I don't really have any issues with it at all. I think, again, it's a personal preference Mew list, but it definitely falls within the range of being really good. So shout out to Echo Shooter. I was actually watching their stream. Really cool player. You should check out their stream as well. We have Tommy B89. We're going to jump into their list, see exactly what's going on here. They played a copy of the Hoopa V. I think Hoopa V is cool in a lot of ways. Maybe it's helpful in the Mew Mirror match, where you could go Elisa Sparkles to a Hoopa V on the bench and the Mew VMAX on the active. Then next turn you can go Elisa Sparkles, attach an energy, attack, knockout, something like that. I think that sounds pretty cool. Or you could build that up however you'd like over the turns, but if it might take pressure off your Mew VMAX, it might give you an even better matchup against things that are weak to Psychic, and it gives you another typing if you're playing against something that's weak to Dark, or something that's Dark type. So I think that's kind of cool. They have the Marnie. They also have a Peony. I think playing Marnie and Peony is kind of smart. If you are playing Peony, I'd like to play at least an Evolution Incense, so you could search out your Mew VMAX, because Peony can only search out trainer cards. Beyond that, I really don't have any issues with this list. Again, it looks smart. It looks cool. Yeah, I really don't have any issues. It looks like a pretty cool list. Again, one of those things where it might be better to add an Oricorio in here at some point. That might help out a lot of the matchups nowadays. But beyond that, I do think it's a cool choice overall. So shout out to Tommy B. Seeing a lot of interesting takes on Mew. Moving into the top 8, we have Keenan Kidd. Keenan being one of my local-ish player, or local-ish area players, I guess I'd like to put out. I found that out the other day. Playing Eternatus VMAX, this deck focuses on using Eternal Zone, and the Eternal Zone definitely gives you a larger bench size, so you can hit hard with Dread Ends. I think Etern works out well because it doesn't necessarily get knocked out by Mew VMAX, or it's very difficult to get knocked out by Mew VMAX, and that might give you a good matchup against that deck, and it might be the better Dark deck against those decks. We've seen decks like Gengar, and we've seen the Sableye V decks, and we've seen kind of everything, Single Strike, all those things, Rapid Strike, Moltres. Like, this might be the best take. I like the expanded Galarian Weezing line. That might help out against a lot of the metagame. I think a lot of the cards in this deck make a lot of sense in some terms of disruption. I'd like to see another energy switch in here maybe, but I don't even know if that's necessary. I think this is a cool deck, and a very interesting take on Etern, because a lot of times we see Umbreon, but maybe Galarian Weezing is just too strong in the metagame, and it capitalizes on what the Sableye V deck does. So solid job to Keenan overall. I like the Etern deck. Maybe give it a whirl and see how it works out for you. So we're going to be moving on to Kirby Man. Kirby Man playing Jolteon VMAX. This to me looks almost the exact same as what Jonathan Patricio won the regionals with. They play the 1 capture, 2 lightning. They do play 2 boss though, so reasonably what I do is cut the capture energy for another lightning energy, and I think this list is hot. That's kind of where I'm saying I really don't like the capture energy, because I feel like it just hurts you. You can't go elemental badge. I'd like to see another elemental badge here as well, just in case anything happens with Professor's research early on or in the game. So I mean, overall, this list is probably 2-3 cards different than my list. That's not to say that my list is any better. I'm just saying for my personal preference as a player, I'd probably go with those changes. Obviously, Kirby Man's the pilot who was able to make top 8, so solid job to them overall. I think this list looks really good. Let's move on to Gabriel Samedo. So Gabriel Samedo, not only top 8ing the regionals, top 8ing this event as well. So great job to them overall. They have the Suicune, Moltres, all that kind of counterbox deck where you're choosing the right attackers against the right matchup. Zapdos would be great against Jolteon and E-Turn and Gengar. Moltres would be great against Dragapult and Shadow Rider and Mew VMAX. And Suicune's just kind of a general all well-rounded attacker. The access to Melanie to be able to accelerate really early turn 1 with Energy Switch, Dire Flame Wings. You can attack turn 1 with Suicune and maybe really put your damage output high. So I think that this is a cool deck. I really don't have any issues with it at all. Like I always say, like, this is a deck that could really change depending on the metagame. If you look at the metagame correctly, or even with Brilliant Stars coming out, we have access to Raikou, and we have access to Entei and other cards that you may want to include in those decks. I think this is really a deck that you get whatever you put into it, and I think it could be really cool. You really can't comment on all the different techs. The build looks strong. I really think Gabriel is a strong player, one of the best players in the game, and there's nothing wrong with this list. It looks hot. So we're going to be moving on. We're going to be moving on to Cal Connor, the Home Slices list. So I think, again, this is this deck's one card off from what Vaughn played, I think, because Vaughn played 2 Sonya, I believe, and Cal plays 1 Sonya. So either way, really cool take on the deck, and I'm really happy to see. I think anything along the lines of this seems absolutely amazing. Duraludon VMAX really showing how strong it is in the metagame. And Cal and Vaughn, both from the Shuffle Squad. Check out the Shuffle Squad, by the way. Great content. Check them out on YouTube. It'd be absolutely sick if you could. Really solid list overall. Not really much else I could say. We've talked about Duraludon for like 3 decks now. We're going to move on to Eder Jirillo playing Mew VMAX. So no Oricorio here. I think Oricorio is great, although they do play Peony. They do play the Evolution Incense for the Peony, and reasonably, it's very similar to all the other Mew lists that we've seen. I personally don't play Peony or Marty in my list right now. I play an Oricorio, and I've covered my list. My lists are in my top 10 Monday videos all the time, and you can always check those out. And to anyone who's a YouTube channel member or a Patreon member, you can always get access to my lists before I put them out anywhere else, before I create a video, and I'm always updating and tinkering with my lists, at least on a weekly basis. So by all means, check that out. I think this is a solid list. Eder's a great player, and I think it's a solid Mew list. We're going to be moving on to Joshua Sutherland, one of my homies, playing Turbo Zacian. So I like that Josh took my advice from my Monday video playing Crushing Hammer in their deck. I think the Crushing Hammer and access to other things in the deck is really cool because the format really, I think you need the Crushing Hammers nowadays to compete with Mew. That being said, this deck's all about using Intrepid Sword, accelerating energies, drawing extra cards, hitting hard with Brave Blade, and kind of being like a more budget version of Mew when it comes to the Zacian, I'd find. Its damage output's very similar to Cross Fusion Strike copying a Technoblast, and you got the boss's orders, and the draw power is also there. So there's a lot of things out there. So if you don't have the money for Mew VMAX, whether you can't pick up the codes online or pick up the cards in real life, I think Turbo Zacian's really good. Josh and Epo both show how strong this deck is on a weekly basis. Zamazenta V is cool. It blocks VMAX Pokemon, so there is that defensive option in the deck too. I think, again, really cool list overall, and Josh definitely knows what they're doing with this deck. So shout out to the homeboy Josh. Not really much that I'd change about this deck. We are going to be moving on to our finalists. We have Angel22 Iranabar playing Jolteon VMAX. Again, this is one of those things where I'm going to probably sound like a broken record, but I'm not a huge fan of the Capture Energy. I think there's a lot better options for decks. I'm not a huge fan of it, right? Like, I don't want to be going Capture Energy, thinking I can go Elemental Badge and kind of ruining my chance at winning the game. Everything else about this list looks very good. Like, I really don't think there's anything else. I literally just have Capture Energy for another Lightning Energy. Now, I do know people like Capture Energy. I'm just saying for my own personal benefit that I do not like it. And that's why you're here at the channel, right? You're watching me. Maybe you're watching this because you're Angel or something like that. By all means, I think Capture Energy is fine. It's just not my personal preference. We will be moving on to the champion here, Ricardo Totti, regular player in the late night, and I think this is their second finalist appearance at at these events. So their Mew VMAX list to me, I'm looking through it. I literally think this is the exact same list that I had in my video on Monday. If not, it's 59 cards. I think it's literally the same list. I like the Oricorio. I like the triple Rotom Phone. I like the 2-2 Escape Rope switch. I think Ricardo and I might be best friends. Either that or he watched my video on Monday. I'm not entirely sure. Ricardo, if you're watching, let me know exactly. Maybe if my list inspired, maybe we both came to the exact same list. But it seems like it's a really awesome list. And I really like how this list plays out. So if you want to play a Mew list, this is the best one out of the video, I think. Off the top of my head, happens to be the one that won the event. Could go over Mew all day, but shout out to the Ricardo, shout out to every single person who plays in my events, watches the stream, watches this content. I really appreciate it. Like I said, if you played in this event, let me know in the comments below. Be like, hey, by the way, I'm Echo Shooter. I came 10th. That's my deck. This is why I played this. I didn't like this. I did like that. Love to hear it. If you didn't play in the event, let me know what you think about these decks. If you're like, you want to know what that tech was really cool, Zach, you missed the reason why, let me know. If you're like, I hate that deck, try to be constructive with it, of course, but let me know why it also helps boost the YouTube algorithm. So loving the comments, but I do get back to every single person when it comes down to the comments. And that's what we got going on for this event. Hopefully everyone learned a thing or two about what's going on, and maybe they'll prepare for the next late night event or any other events that you're playing on the Play Limitless platform. I do love covering these videos to kind of understand what's going on with the metagame, and it does allow us to see more different decks. So if you want to be in the video, by all means, play in the events, make top 16, you're there. And if you don't make top 16, at least you hopefully had fun in the process. I do try to run the absolute best events I possibly ever could. Give this video a thumbs up. It does boost the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.